The comfort padding in the breaker is fully removable and washable. You always want to wash it by hand and let it air dry. Avoid a hot dryer. There are plastic parts that are small and you don't want to deform them and prevent it from being able to be put back in the helmet properly. So you can see I removed the face shield and the breath deflector, and that's just to give me a little more room to work. You can develop to the point where you won't need to do that if you don't want to, but they're easy enough to take on and off that I figure it's a good place to start. So the first thing that I like to do is pull off the neck roll, and I grab it right about here and just give it a tug. And you can see there's this pretty thick wire right here. You just work it out all the way around and out it comes. Now, this has the emergency cheek pad system, and that reveals those tabs. In the event of a rider, unfortunately, were to go down, an emergency crew can stabilize his head and then pop that, and these will come right out. There you go. For the inner liner, you're going to undo the quick release, of course, and for that top padding, you're going to pull out here. You can see that there's that little plastic lip that folds between the EPS and the shell. So again, if I were putting it back in, I'm just going to work it back into that area, work it forward, and at the front you can see there are these tabs, and the liner's just tucked under the tabs. There are little hooks that hold it in place. So I'm just going to reach in and gently wiggle it and pull, and out it comes. Now, you don't want to be too rough on this pad. You know, pull, but if it doesn't come with a reasonable amount of tug, and just change the angle that you're pulling it at, wiggle it a little bit more and it'll pop out. To reinstall it, you just reverse the procedure. So again, you're going to have to keep the straps out of the way, and sometimes that's a little bit of a pain. I find if I lay it on its side like this, I can hold the one with my thumb, and the other one, gravity keeps in place. So tuck the liner back in. And then once you've got it in, you don't have to worry so much about that chin strap. And then line up the tabs, the indentations on this piece of the liner with the tabs on the helmet. And just work them back in one at a time. Now on these outer edges, you're probably going to have to take the tab right here and slide it into the slot of the side of the EPS right there. So get it underneath, give it a little push. Work it around. And just make sure that it's all the way forward and you're going to be in. Then, as I mentioned before, you take this piece of plastic and you're going to tuck it in the gap behind the EPS. Pretty easy to do. Just fold it in, and there we go. Now we're going to go to the cheek pads. Now, because of their emergency pull, you can see right here there's a slot that looks like a keyhole, and you're just going to put it in the bigger of the holes and then slide it down into the smaller of the two, and you're using the pins that are on the side of the shell right there, excuse me, of the cheek pad. So slide the cheek pad over the strap, line up the little keyhole, slide it into place. There we go. Again, give them a check to make sure you've got them in. Now, the neck roll is the last piece that you want to put in. You can see it's got this flap on the far side. That's going to have to tuck in first, and you're just sliding it between the EPS and the outer shell. There's a little slot right there that it'll fit into. Just wiggle it in and slide the pin forward, this pin into the receiver. On this particular model, it's white. It's right there, and we'll try to get a close-up of that to show you a better shot. You want to remember that each of these tips is removable. It can come out, and you want to make sure you keep track of it. If it came out and you lost it, you'd have a little trouble in reinstalling that neck roll. So keep track of them, slide this piece in, and slip the pin forward into the receiver, kind of get it started. Then do the same with the opposite side. Now, you don't want to bend this wire. It's reasonably durable, but don't kink it. Allow it to slip in, and then just start to work it around much like you would an inner tube on a bicycle wheel. And you're going to get to this this point, it's going to seem like it wants to bulge and that it won't go. But if you just gently work it, like I talk about as if it were a tube, you can reach your thumb under, as you see here, and just kind of help get that neck gasket up, and in it goes, and you're good to go. Then the last step is to tuck the emergency pull tabs, these red tabs, back up into the neck roll. There's a slot right there that you're going to tuck it into, and you're just going to work it through until you can grab it. And whoop. Sorry folks, give me just a second here. And pull it through, and there you go. Now, I personally like to leave these exposed so that if an emergency worker ever came across a rider, they'd be able to see them and they'd get the idea that there is an emergency system. Again, I'm just tucking it through the hole, and once it's through, grab it, peel it on through, and I leave them out. Some people don't like to because they flap. You can tuck them in a little bit if you want and still show that they're exposed enough that a worker could see them. But there you go. That's how you replace the liner on a breaker.